Good evening YouTube, what's cracking off? Asmid here, and today we're going to be doing another faction guide for Deathmaster Snikch's Clan Eshin this time. Now, Deathmaster Snikch is pretty much the Ezio Auditore of the Skaven universe, and as always we're going to be ranking his faction based on 4 categories out of a score of 5. So there's 4 categories include the faction attributes, the leader martial prowess, the leader commandability, the leader faction, and the leader faction buffs. Now, as always, this guide is based on campaign only, so only applies if you're playing Mortal Empires or either Vortex. If you are playing multiplayer, this guide may not necessarily apply to you. Again, this difficulty level is applicable to anyone, whether you're a new starter or whether you're a veteran player. Hopefully you should be able to get something out of it. I do play on hard difficulty myself, but then again, like I said, this campaign should help you at any difficulty. Right, without further ado, let's get started. Right, let's get started with his actual faction attributes then. Now, in my opinion, I genuinely think that Clan Eshin has got the best mechanics in the whole game. Now, you might be thinking, why? There's a ridiculous upkeep recruitment cost for non-Eshin units. Why the hell have they got the best mechanics? Well, I'll explain why. It comes through, in my opinion, their shadowy dealings mechanic. Now, this is better than Athel Tomorrow in my opinion, because there's just so much you can do with it. I won't go into too much detail about it, because I feel like the best way you'll understand how this works is if you just spend some time having a go with it yourself. But really, there are a lot of things you can do through the Eshin actions. You can scout a province, you can have a heist in a settlement where you steal money from it. You can obviously increase the amount of the size of the heist you do, increasing the amount of money you can get. You can steal money from other provinces and other settlements. You can steal technologies. It's not necessarily stealing a technology, but it increases your research rate for a specific amount of time. But in my opinion, the most powerful mechanic or action they have as part of their shadowy dealings is Plunge into Anarchy, where you can just take just a faction that you don't necessarily want to deal with and just absolutely destroy them in one turn. Now, what this does is it removes the faction's leader, causing every single settlement belonging to that faction to be overthrown by rebels, and then it's just easy pickings from there on out, because there's no coordinated strike. So I think that's why shadowy dealings is so important. There are other stuff you can do as well, and also I want to point out that every time you do carry out an action with any lord, it gives them experience, which means you can get rank 40 lords very quickly using Clan Eshin. They're also really powerful in the fact that they don't suffer with loyalty. Now, Clan Eshin lords never defect. That for me is just super impressive. One of the main downsides to the Skaven is that they have a bit of a loyalty issue every now and again, but the fact that you don't experience that at all with Clan Eshin makes it really, really viable. I've also got a good starting location, so as you can see here, they pretty much start in the corner of the map at Flayed Rock. They've only got some greenskins near them, and obviously the Knights of Kaldor and Imric, but they're pretty easy to take out. They've also got what's his name, that stupid Dark Elf Lord. It was on the tip of my tongue. Malice Darkblade, of course, yeah. Malice Darkblade resides here, and you do have to deal with him in the early game, but it's not too much of an issue. So they do have a good starting location as well. The only negative thing that Clan Eshin's got going for them is the recruitment cost. Now, it's plus 200% for all non-Eshin units. So that includes all your weapons teams, your Rattling guns, your Jezzails, your artilleries, some of your monsters. So that is a bit of an issue. However, as part of the shadowy dealings mechanic, you can also carry out clan contracts. As you can see here, I've carried out a lot of clan contracts for Clan Skyer, which means that there's a reduction of 200% for the recruitment cost of all the weapon teams and the Doomflayers and the Warp Lightning Cannons. All that basically means that it cancels out the recruitment cost that you get from your faction mechanic, which means you can recruit them at ordinary price. Now, that's why Clan Eshin's mechanics are so good. Not only have they got really powerful shadowy dealing mechanics, no loyalty, but they can also counteract the recruitment cost penalty that you get by just increasing your relationship using clan contracts. So based on that, I'm having to give Clan Eshin a ranking of 5 out of 5 for faction attributes. In my opinion, they have got the best faction attributes out of any other faction in the whole game. Right, moving on to leader martial prowess then. Now, obviously we're going to be looking at Snikch's leader martial prowess, and he is decent. So let's get started then. He has got some okay base stats. Obviously these have been buffed slightly, but he's a good assassin. However, he is squishy. Now, there are a ton of resistances you can get by leveling him up, but to start off with, he is a bit squishy. He is a duelist, but I wouldn't go toe to toe as Snikch with some high damage dealing lords like Tyrion or Kolek or Durthu or anyone like that, because in the early game he is pretty squishy, so I would be careful. But if you want to go backstabber a common lord, a chaos lord, or I don't know, a typical high elven lord, if you're facing Imric early, then he's pretty good for that, because you can pretty much sneak up from behind them from the back, stab them, get a few stabs in, and then piss off. So he's good in that regard. He's also got access to some pretty good equipment. So he's got access to the Whirl of Weeping, which increases his weapon strength and his armor piercing weapon damage. He also has the Whirl of Weeping Blades Vortex as well, which is pretty good against any high entity units, whether it's cavalry or infantry. It pretty much just clears the infantry or cavalry that have been piled up around you, and then gives you a chance to escape, or if you want to, go further in. He's also got access to the Cloak of Shadows, which boosts his melee defense, giving him some extra resistance. He also has the passive ability of the Cloak of Shadows around him as well, which is pretty good. Then he also has Slippery. Now, Slippery is a good skill to have, because it increases his speed and his melee defense. So whether he wants to use it before he starts in combat to get the extra melee defense, or whether he just wants to quickly escape from a fight, you can just pop that down, get extra speed, and run away. And he's also got the Just Dodge It as well, which gives him a melee defense of plus 5% and physical resistance 15%. So coupled with some items that are piled on here, like the Luckstone, the Gunnison Cron, you can get a high amount of physical resistance. You can see here it's got 62 physical resistance, but I'm not going to really count that, because they're extra additional items that you can get throughout the campaign game. In summary then, for his leader martial prowess, based on everything we've just discussed in the campaign map, the fact that Snikch is a squishy but a really powerful assassin in the battlefield. He's got the Whirl of Weeping Blades, got good other equipment like the Cloak of Shadows, and he's just a bit slippery and dodges most attacks through his immense physical resistance and melee defense. I'm going to give Deathmaster Snikch a ranking of 4 out of 5 for leader martial prowess. And that's just a really cool little ability he just did there. I don't know whether you saw that, but he just kind of like zoomed and disappeared and then messed this Chaos Lord up afterwards. Moving on to the commandability of Deathmaster Snikch then. Now, in terms of commandability, he's got a pretty good trait. He's got Grand Knight Lord's Agitator, which increases his ambush success chance by 25%, increases the melee attack for all heroes in his army, and gives his army the ability to concealment bombs. They're not anything too great, but they can be handy from time to time. He's also, as I mentioned before, he's got the Whirl of Weeping Blades. Now this increases leadership for his army, for Guts Runners, Night Runners, Death Runners and Triads, as long as they're rank 7 and above. It's okay. He's also got the Cloak of Shadows, which increases his ambush success chance even further. And then he has got Jump Scare, which is here, Jump Scare, which also increases ambush success chance by 10%. and also reduces the enemy leadership in the region by 5, which is pretty good because it allows you to get the penalty even quicker. He's got Scurry Fast as well, Scurry Fast Quick, which gives his whole army the attribute Strider, which allows them to move through rough terrain like trees and forests without any speed penalties. He also gets Conceal Hide Them, which also increases the speed of all of his infantry units and gives concealment bombs for all night runners and gutter runners in his army. And he's got contract loopholes as well, which also does a further reduction of 25% for all units in his army. Now, based on all of that, you might think there are only a few decent traits. However, through a combination of the Cloak of Shadows, Jump Scare, and his own trait, Grand Night Lord's Agitator, you can pretty much ensure that every single battle your army fights, you're going to be ambushing someone. And that is just so important, especially if you get the Ancient Cunning leveled up to max as well, to get an extra 30%. If I look at the campaign effects for Deathmaster Snikch right now, his ambush success chance is plus 70%, which means he's pretty much guaranteed to ambush every army he attacks. And based on that alone, because I know there's other stuff in there as well, but based on that aspect of it alone, I'm having to give Clan Eshin and Deathmaster Snikch a 5 out of 5 for leader commandability. Finally then, moving on to faction buffs. Now this is where Snikch doesn't really do much. Now, let's have a look at what he does do. He does have the Scurry Fast Quick skill, which gives him extra campaign movement range plus 5%. It's decent, it's not a lot, but it is better than nothing. He's also got the contract loopholes. Now this is pretty much his saving grace when it comes to faction buff, and that's because it's really good to get heroes and lords recruited a higher level a lot sooner. If you get that +3 recruit rank, you can pretty much guarantee that they all start with the Route Marcher and at least 16% ambush success chance every time they start a fight. Furthermore, if you do want to go down the exploitative line somewhat, then you can rush getting level 13 warlords to get the expansionist, Ravenous Planning. Is that right? Ravenous Planning? I just can't. Let's see what it was called again. Warlord. Ravenous Expansion, sorry. Yeah, so if you get lords to level 13 quick enough, that you can get income from settlement buildings plus 4% all regions. So Snikch, in his ability to have a +3 recruit rank, expedites the process of doing that, which is again pretty good. It's not amazing, but it's pretty good. And then he's also got Sabotage and Unrest, which is pretty poor, to be honest. It reduces the public order and the enemy province by -5. So based on all that, I can't justify giving Snikch an extremely high score for faction buffs. However, because of contract loopholes and the extra 3+ recruit rank that he adds, I'm going to give him a ranking of 3 out of 5. In summary then, I'd say that Deathmaster Snikch and his faction, Clan Eshin, have got the best faction mechanics in the whole game out of any other faction. He's a sneaky assassin, pretty much the Ezio Auditore of the Skaven universe, like I mentioned earlier, and he excels in ambushing other armies to victory. So based on that, I'm going to give Snikch an overall ranking of 4.25 out of 5. Now, I hope you guys all enjoyed my video. If you did, please leave a like and subscribe. If you didn't, please leave me a comment explaining why, and I'll try and get back to you. There are other videos that I've made on faction guides. I've made a Malekith one, and I've made a Lokir Felheart one for the Dark Elves. I'll leave the link in the description below so you guys can check that out if you fancy it. Cheers guys, appreciate you guys watching this. Peace out.